Hello, and welcome to a short overview of the Dury Center for Entrepreneurship in the Plaster College of Business and Entrepreneurship. My name is Jim Mosquera, and I'm the director of the center, along with Dr. Julie Turner, who is the associate director. Why is entrepreneurship important? This picture illustrates private sector employment in the United States. To be clear, this does not include any public or government entity. These are just private enterprises created by individuals. The numbers reflect a pyramid where the bottom layer are the number of companies with 1 to 4 employees. Then the next layer shows companies with 5 to 9 employees. Think for a moment how many companies you think may exist in those lower 2 tiers. I'll give you a moment. Well, if you guessed 5 million, you'd be quite close. There are 5 million private companies in the US with 9 or fewer employees. Moving towards the top of the pyramid, there are 10,000 or so companies with 1,000 or more employees. So what's the point of this pyramid? In the last 30 years, there has been more growth as a percentage of employment at the top tier. I penned an article for a local business magazine years ago where I highlighted that there were more companies dying than being born. Now, there can be a number of reasons for this, but we can assert that the bottom tier, or tiers, generally come from entrepreneurs of some sort. We of course should celebrate companies getting larger and employing more people, but we also know those companies were once smaller companies. When people think about entrepreneurship, they think about someone developing an app or a video game, or maybe even something high-tech. While that's true, many of the jobs in the economy, many of these new companies are Main Street companies, like automotive repair, culinary arts, call centers. While these jobs feature technology, they're not necessarily tech jobs. Entrepreneurship is not always evident. For example, let's look at nonprofit companies. Do you know the difference between a nonprofit and a for-profit company? A primary difference between a nonprofit and a for-profit company is shareholder ownership. A for-profit company is owned by shareholders. A nonprofit company is not. Now, many times people think about a nonprofit company as a company that can't make profit. Well, that's not true. As a matter of fact, there's an old saying with nonprofit organizations that says, "No margin, no mission. If you're not making money, you cannot fulfill your mission." Nonprofit organizations are often founded by an individual who may have experienced something in their personal life, something they're passionate about. But one of the things that they don't realize is that when you create a nonprofit, again, it's still a company, they've just created a business. And with creating a business come all of the responsibilities of creating a business and operationally what you need to do to create a business. And for nonprofit organizations, it's a little bit different. The Dury Center helps nonprofit organizations through a variety of workshops and other teachings and educational programs to make nonprofits stronger. Here's another area where entrepreneurship is not always evident. There's another realm of entrepreneurship that I've coined the term Civic Entrepreneurship, which is what laws, policies, and regulations do governing agencies enact that help or hurt business formation or even the furtherance of business, period. I'm also the director of the Hammond Institute for Free Enterprise, where we discuss issues such as these. Let's take a look at a couple of examples of civic entrepreneurship and how it comes into play. In the late 1970s, there were some 100 breweries in the United States. Sounds like a reasonable number. During the Carter administration, there was deregulation enacted for this industry. So how did it impact the brewing industry? Well, now there are 9 metropolitan areas with as many breweries as there were in the entirety of the United States before that legislation was enacted. Think of how many entrepreneurs form new companies and all the people employed by them. Here's another example. Do you remember when there was a baby formula shortage in 2021 and 2022? You had moms talking to reporters about they didn't have baby formula or they were out when they went to the store. And then the government got involved and you saw these plane loads of baby formula coming in from other parts of the world. Seems strange, right? The United States importing baby formula? Now, at the time, there were reasons ascribed to supply chain issues associated with the shutdowns of the economy. And there was an issue with contamination at one of the plants. But it got me to thinking, why did a contamination at a plant shut down essentially the baby formula market in the United States? Well, as it turns out, in the United States, there's only 4 companies, that control 90% of the baby formula market. Now, this is due as much to regulation as anything else. And one of the things I want to highlight is that, we have a very, very centralized business architecture, if you will, simply for baby formula. And I would imagine that there are many entrepreneurs that could make baby formula. There's nothing necessarily proprietary about making baby formula. Now, each manufacturer probably has their own formulation, but essentially they're going to be fairly similar. But yet, there's only 4 companies that do that. And again, you can probably look at regulation for that. As an economy, we are actually less safe when things are as concentrated as they are. Now, some people would say that's a monopoly or oligopoly. But I look at it even differently than that, is that we don't have the same number of choices, which from a pricing perspective is one thing, but from an absolute food security is another. So decentralization and entrepreneurship definitely go hand in hand. Now, this may seem obvious, but entrepreneurs should also build products that people want. I know it sounds obvious, but that is one reason why many businesses fail. The entrepreneur positioned a solution before they addressed a problem needing to be solved that people actually wanted. There's an old saying that talks about in entrepreneurship, which is fall in love with the problem and not your solution. In the upcoming spring semester, Plaster College will offer a special topics class specifically around this sort of innovation and entrepreneurship and making products and services that people actually want. And if you do that, you have not guaranteed success, but you have a higher probability of being successful if you follow that methodology. Again, this is a very specific methodology that we'll be offering in the spring semester. Moreover, in the fall semester, we are piloting some elements of that special topics class in a couple of classes, where students will actually get a taste of what that special topics class will actually be like, and there will actually feature competitions within the fall class. In the spring class, we will also feature this sort of competitive environment where much of the grade of the class is not going to necessarily be based on tests and quizzes and homework assignments, but on actual working together in teams and building products and services, again, that people want, and to be judged by the public, or specifically judges, that will assess the efficacy of your solution. Thank you for your time today, and I encourage you to follow what we're doing in the center by visiting us at lindenwood.edu/Dury-Center. Thank you.